You are looking at a bar of soap that cost 18 cents to make. It weighs 5 ounces. It will last 6 weeks of daily use. The identical bar at a grocery store costs 50 cents. I am standing in a farmhouse kitchen in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. The counter has 40 bars of soap cooling on wire racks. The woman who made them spent $7 on ingredients. Those 40 bars will supply her household for an entire year. She has been making soap this way for 35 years. She has never once bought a bar of commercial soap in her adult life. And the total amount of time she spends on soap production each year is about 3 hours. What you are about to learn is the exact chemical process that transforms animal fat and lye into soap through a reaction that has been understood and practiced for over 4,000 years. This is not complicated. This is not dangerous if you follow basic safety procedures, and this is not a craft hobby. This is a manufacturing process that every household in America performed as a routine chore until 1950, when the personal care industry spent billions of dollars convincing you that making your own soap was too difficult, too dangerous, and unnecessary. By the end of this video, you will understand why a $7 investment in ingredients produces a year's worth of soap. Why the glycerin that makes commercial moisturizer expensive is a free byproduct of homemade soap that companies deliberately remove and sell separately. And why an industry worth $180 billion per year depends entirely on you never learning that soap is a simple chemical reaction you can perform in your kitchen in 30 minutes. Let me start with the chemistry, because once you understand what soap actually is, the process stops being mysterious. Soap is not a mixture of ingredients. Soap is the product of a chemical reaction between fat and a strong base. The reaction is called saponification. When you combine a fat or oil with sodium hydroxide, which is lye, the molecules break apart and recombine into two new substances: soap and glycerin. The fat molecules are triglycerides, 3 fatty acid chains attached to a glycerol backbone. When lye contacts those molecules, it splits the fatty acids from the glycerol. The fatty acids bind with sodium from the lye and become soap. The glycerol is released as a separate molecule, which is glycerin. This is not mixing, this is molecular transformation. The lye is not in the finished soap. It has been converted into a different substance entirely. This is why properly made soap contains no lye. The lye was consumed by the reaction. If you test finished soap with a pH strip after it has cured, it will read between 8 and 10, which is mildly alkaline. Lye, by comparison, has a pH of 14, which is extremely caustic. The transformation is complete. Now here is what the commercial soap industry does not advertise. When they make soap at an industrial scale, they perform the exact same saponification reaction. But after the soap forms, they add salt to the mixture. The salt causes the soap and glycerin to separate into 2 distinct layers. They skim off the soap, rinse it, press it into bars, and package it. The glycerin, which is a valuable humectant and moisturizer, is removed and sold separately to cosmetic companies. You buy the soap for $3.50. You buy the glycerin-based moisturizer for $12. Both came from the same chemical reaction. But by splitting them, the company sells you the same molecules twice. When you make soap at home, the glycerin stays in the soap. It is not removed. Every bar you make is naturally moisturizing because the glycerin that forms during saponification is still present. That is why homemade soap feels different on your skin. It is not harsher, it is richer. You are getting the complete product instead of the intentionally stripped version. Now let me walk you through the exact process, because the steps matter and the measurements are not negotiable. Soap making requires precision, not because it is fragile, but because the chemical reaction depends on specific ratios. Too much lye and the soap will be caustic. Too little lye and the soap will be greasy and will not saponify fully. The correct ratio is determined by the type of fat you use. Different fats require different amounts of lye. There are calculators online that do the math for you. You input the type of fat and the weight, and the calculator tells you exactly how much lye and water to use. I am going to give you one basic recipe that works. This is the formula the Amish use for general-purpose soap. 16 ounces of lard or tallow, 2.3 ounces of lye, which is sodium hydroxide, 6 ounces of distilled water. Optional, 1 ounce of essential oil for scent. This formula makes 10 to 12 bars of soap. Before you start, put on protective gear. long sleeves, rubber gloves, safety goggles. Lye is caustic. It will burn your skin on contact. It will damage your eyes. This is not optional. You do not handle lye casually. Measure your water into a heat-safe container, glass or stainless steel, not aluminum. Lye reacts with aluminum. Measure your lye carefully. Use a digital scale. Do not estimate. Slowly, and I mean slowly, add the lye to the water. Never add water to lye. Always add lye to water. The reaction is exothermic. It generates heat. The water will heat to around 200 degrees Fahrenheit within seconds. If you reverse the process and pour water onto lye, the reaction can be violent enough to splash caustic liquid onto your skin or into your eyes. Add lye to water. Stir gently until the lye dissolves completely. The mixture will be clear. Set it aside and let it cool to around 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. While the lye solution is cooling, measure your fat. If you are using lard or tallow, melt it gently on the stove. Do not overheat it. You just want it liquid. Let it cool to the same temperature as the lye solution, around 100 to 110 degrees. Temperature matching matters. If one liquid is significantly hotter than the other, the saponification will not proceed evenly. When both liquids are between 100 and 110 degrees, pour the lye solution into the melted fat. Not the other way around. Lye into fat. Stir continuously. You can use a whisk or a stick blender. A stick blender is faster. Within a few minutes, the mixture will begin to thicken. This is called reaching trace. Trace means the mixture has thickened to the consistency of thin pudding. When you drizzle some of the mixture from your spoon back into the pot, it leaves a faint trail on the surface before sinking back in. That trail is the trace. Once you reach trace, the saponification reaction is underway. If you want to add essential oils for scent, this is the time. Stir them in thoroughly. Pour the mixture into molds. You can use silicone molds, wooden molds lined with parchment paper, or even a cardboard box lined with a plastic bag. It does not matter, you just need a container that will hold the liquid while it solidifies. Cover the molds with a towel and set them aside. The soap will continue to react and harden over the next 24 to 48 hours. It will generate heat during this time. That is normal. After 24 hours, check the soap. It should be firm enough to cut. If you used a large mold, cut the soap into bars now. If you used individual molds, pop the bars out. Place the bars on a wire rack or a piece of parchment paper in a cool, dry location with good air circulation. This is the curing phase. The soap is technically usable at this point, but it still contains a significant amount of water. Over the next 4 to 6 weeks, that water will evaporate. The bars will shrink slightly and become harder. A harder bar lasts longer. Curing also allows any remaining lye that has not fully reacted to complete the saponification process. After 4 weeks, test a bar with a pH strip. If the pH is between 8 and 10, the soap is ready to use. If the pH is higher, let it cure for another week or two. Once cured, the soap is completely safe. There is no lye left in it. The lye has been transformed into soap. You can use it on your hands, your body, your face. It will not burn you. It will not harm you. It is simply soap. Now let me tell you why this process, which was performed in every American household for centuries, disappeared from public knowledge in less than 20 years. In 1930, soap making was still a common household task. Farm wives and rural families made soap from lard rendered during hog butchering. The process was seasonal, usually done in the spring or fall. A single batch produced enough soap for months. After World War II, the chemical industry that had developed synthetic detergents for military use turned its attention to the consumer market. Companies like Procter & Gamble, Lever Brothers, and Colgate-Palmolive launched massive advertising campaigns promoting convenience. Pre-made soap was marketed as modern, sanitary, and scientific. Homemade soap was quietly rebranded as old-fashioned, unreliable, and dangerous. Television commercials showed gleaming bars of ivory and dial. Magazines ran advertisements emphasizing the purity and consistency of factory-made products. And within one generation, soap making shifted from a routine skill to a niche hobby practiced by a small number of enthusiasts. The industry did not ban homemade soap. They did not need to. They simply made it seem unnecessary. And once it seemed unnecessary, people stopped learning. And once people stopped learning, the knowledge disappeared. But the Amish never stopped because they never adopted the commercial dependency model. They still butcher hogs, they still render lard, They still make soap the way their grandmothers did. Not as a statement, as a practice that works and costs almost nothing. An Amish household making soap twice a year spends roughly $10 to $15 on lye. The fat comes from animals they raise. The water is free. The labor is 3 to 4 hours total. The result is 80 to 100 bars of soap that supply a family of 6 for an entire year. Compare that to a conventional household buying soap at a grocery store. 40 bars per year at an average price of $2.50 per bar equals $100 per year. Over 20 years, that is $2,000 spent on soap. The Amish household spends $200 to $300 on lye over the same period. The difference is $1,700. That is not a trivial amount. That is the cost of a major appliance, or a year of groceries, or an emergency fund. And it is money spent on a product you can make yourself for pennies. But the cost is only part of the suppression story. The other part is glycerin. Glycerin is a byproduct of soap making. It is also a highly effective moisturizer. It draws water into the skin and holds it there. Cosmetic companies love glycerin because it works, but glycerin is expensive to produce synthetically. It is much cheaper to extract it from soap. When commercial soap manufacturers remove glycerin from soap and sell it to cosmetic companies, they create two revenue streams: soap and glycerin-based moisturizers. You buy soap that dries your skin because the glycerin has been removed. Then you buy lotion to moisturize your skin. The lotion contains glycerin that was extracted from soap. You are buying the same molecule twice at a combined markup of 1,000% or more. Homemade soap contains the glycerin. You do not need lotion. The soap itself is moisturizing. That is not marketing language. That is chemistry. The glycerin is present because you did not remove it. Now, I want to give you two additional formulas because the same saponification process produces different types of soap depending on the fat you use and the way you prepare it. For dish soap, you want a formula that produces a lot of suds. High coconut oil content does this. Coconut oil saponifies into a soap that lathers aggressively even in cold water. Use 100% coconut oil instead of lard. Increase the lye slightly to account for the different fat. The calculator will tell you the exact amount. After the soap cures, grate it with a cheese grater. Dissolve the grated soap in hot water at a ratio of 1 ounce of grated soap per quart of water. Add a tablespoon of washing soda if you want extra grease-cutting power. This produces a liquid dish soap that works as well as any commercial product. For laundry soap, the process is even simpler. Make a standard batch of soap using the lard formula. After it cures, grate the bars, mix the grated soap with equal parts washing soda and borax. Use 2 tablespoons of this mixture per load of laundry. One batch of soap becomes enough laundry detergent for 6 months to a year, depending on how often you do laundry. The cost per load is less than 5 cents. Commercial laundry detergent costs 25 to 50 cents per load. That is a 5 to 10 times markup for a product you can make in 10 minutes. The Amish use this exact formula. They do not buy Tide or Gain or any branded detergent. They make soap, grate it, mix it with washing soda, and store it in a jar. It works. It has always worked. The only reason it is not common knowledge is because Procter & Gamble spent $5 billion on advertising last year to make sure you keep buying their version instead of making your own. Now, I need to address one question that almost everyone asks. Is lye dangerous? Yes, lye is caustic. It will burn you. It will damage your eyes. It requires respect and proper handling. But it is not more dangerous than bleach, oven cleaner, or drain opener. All of those products contain lye or similarly caustic chemicals. You already have dangerous chemicals in your house. You just do not think about them because you have been taught to use them safely. Lye is the same. If you wear gloves and goggles, work in a ventilated area, add lye to water slowly, and keep it away from children and pets, it is perfectly safe to use. And once the soap has cured, there is no lye in it. The lye has been chemically transformed. It no longer exists as lye. Testing finished soap with a pH strip will confirm this. If the pH is between 8 and 10, the soap is safe. If you are still nervous, start with a small batch. Make 1 pound of soap. That is about 6 bars. If it works, make a larger batch next time. You will quickly realize that the danger has been exaggerated, not because lye is harmless, but because the process is straightforward and the risks are manageable. The soap industry benefits from you believing that lye is too dangerous for home use. Because if you believe that, you will never try. And if you never try, you will never realize how simple it actually is. I want to tell you one more thing about soap that almost nobody outside of chemistry labs and old farming communities understands. Soap does not kill bacteria. Soap removes bacteria. There is a difference. Antibacterial soap, which is heavily marketed and costs twice as much as regular soap, contains chemicals like triglycerin that are designed to kill bacteria on contact. But research from the FDA published in 2016 found that antibacterial soap is no more effective at preventing illness than regular soap and water, because soap works by mechanical action, not chemical killing. When you wash your hands with soap, the soap molecules surround bacteria, dirt, and oils. One end of the soap molecule is hydrophobic and binds to oils and dirt. The other end is hydrophilic and binds to water. When you rinse, the water pulls the soap molecules away, and the bacteria and dirt go with them. You do not need to kill the bacteria, you just need to wash them down the drain. Antibacterial soap is a marketing invention. It does not provide additional benefit. It does introduce unnecessary chemicals into your home and into the water supply. Regular soap, including homemade soap, works perfectly. The Amish have been washing with plain lard soap for 200 years. They are not getting sick at higher rates than people using antibacterial products. They are just not buying into marketing that has no scientific basis. You now have the complete formula: 16 ounces of fat, 2.3 ounces of lye, 6 ounces of water. Melt the fat, dissolve the lye in the water. Combine at 100 to 110 degrees. Stir to trace, pour into molds, cure for 4 weeks. That is the entire process. It costs $7 per batch. It makes 40 bars. It takes 30 minutes of active work, and it eliminates your soap expense for a year. If you could cut your household cleaning and personal care costs by 80% and know exactly what ingredients you are putting on your skin, what would that change about how you think about the products you buy? Leave that in the comments.